Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Picnic Table Chat Show. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit of a special episode. We're having an interview here with Cookie Reptiles. I've got him actually sat with me in the studio right now. But before that, we're just going to say a massive hello to everyone on all the different channels on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Massive hello to everyone in the comment section. If you want to give us any comments or questions throughout the interview, we will make sure we get to them all either during the interview or at the end. We won't miss any, don't worry about that. But anyways, how are you, Paul?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, buddy. Do you want to introduce yourself and what you do?
So I'm Paul. I am the owner of Cookies Reptiles. I breed leopard geckos, crested geckos, dune geckos, different types of dart frogs, red-eye tree frogs, and a few different species, really.
Brilliant. So what is it that really got you into that? Why is it you went for geckos and frogs?
So when I was younger, I had a job in a pet shop working with the reptiles, and my passion basically just grew from there.
Okay, so you worked with reptiles first. What other reptiles did you work with?
So bearded dragons, different species of snakes, pretty much everything, anything that a reptile shop sells.
Awesome. But you found that geckos and frogs were your
geckos and frogs is what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to specialise in.
That's cool. You don't really see many pet shops these days with that sort of range, so it must have been a very cool pet shop. Whereabouts was it?
It was up in Middlesbrough. Okay,
Middlesbrough, that's a long way from here. I don't know Middlesbrough at all, as everyone knows. So, what type of frogs do you currently own? You went through some of the geckos, but what kind of frogs?
I've got red-eye tree frogs, I've got Pac-Man frogs, I've got two McDart frogs, blue azores dart frogs, Dendrobates auratus, and then I've got
Quite a few different species. So, out of all of those different species, what would you say is your favorite?
It's probably the blue azores because that's what everyone gets drew in by into the dart frog hobby.
And that's the ones that we're currently selling your tadpoles on,
isn't it?
Now, they are absolutely stunning frogs. Obviously, I've done a little bit of research on them. I've got one myself as a personal tadpole, we could say. And they are really interesting, but I'm going to let you tell us a bit about them. What sort of care is needed for a tadpole or a frog?
So tadpoles are so easy to look after. I keep them in little plastic cups with a little bit of water in, a piece of almond leaf, and a little bit of aquatic moss, like java moss. Then I feed them every couple of days with a pinch of fluval bug bites fish food. That seems to be the best thing I found, and they do really well with that. And then every couple of days, I top them up with a little bit of fresh water. Once a week, take a little bit out, clean them out, but never take the whole amount of water out.
Yeah.
You're looking about 20% of it, if that.
Okay.
And then just replace that with a bit of fresh water, but you can't use tap water for them.
Yeah.
It has to be either reverse osmosis water
Yeah.
or bottled spring water.
Yeah. See, in the ant keeping hobby, we always use bottled water if we can in the test tubes. So it's kind of standard for us to know that, It's always better to use bottled water if you can. You just don't know what's in tap water these days. I've seen experiments where I will put the microphone slightly closer. There you go. I've seen experiments where they've put literally tap water in a bottle and left it for a week or two, and then seen what's been living inside of it, and it's quite surprising.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always advisable to use bottled water where you can. So why is it that you don't get rid of all of the water? You just replace most of it?
Because it can put the tadpole into a shock, because if you replace the whole amount of water, it has a little bit of an ecosystem going on in there.
Okay, like microbiology.
Yeah. So removing all of it will just shock the whole thing, and then tadpoles quite likely just to die, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fair enough. So with tadpoles, obviously they're in the development phase of turning into frogs. What sort of length or time span are we talking to get to frog?
So they say between 6 to 8 weeks. I've had it a bit longer over winter when it was a bit cooler in the flat, because I just keep them all at room temperature.
Yeah.
So it was a bit cooler, so it's a little bit longer. But you can, if you keep them about a little bit warmer, about 23, 24 degrees, they will soon grow.
Okay.
And you're looking about 6 weeks
Okay.
to have a fully fledged frog ready to go.
Okay, and obviously it's pretty cool watching the legs sort of form underneath. You start out with what's happened to mine has been two little bumps have started forming, and obviously there's no legs yet, but you can definitely see those bumps. It's been really interesting to watch, but I can't wait to see them start jumping about. What sort of enclosure do they need when they get to frog size?
So I keep all mine fully bioactive. It's the best way to keep them. There was a lot of experiments in the early 90s, I believe, on how to keep them.
Yeah.
And because a lot of keepers were struggling when they first came into the hobby, because they need such a high humidity.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So people have found if you create their own ecosystem in the tank for them, that's how they do with automatic misters to replicate rain.
Yeah. See, I always say keeping things in a bioactive environment, keeping it as natural as possible, it just makes it easy. Self-sustaining as much as possible as well. It's more natural for them. It's nicer for our viewing as well. So yeah, I'm well up for that. Obviously, in the ant keeping hobby, we do have a lot of sterile environments as such. And we have sort of got the humidity. I mean, with the leaf cutters, we've got to keep the high humidity, etc. But I don't think I just can't visualize putting frogs into that sort of environment and them enjoying it.
Yeah, it looks so artificial for them, and
Yeah.
they're there to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
I spend hours just watching mine, especially now that they've been moved into a bigger tank.
Yeah, definitely. So do they need quite a bit of height, or do they hop around on the lower levels?
So it's depending on the species. With like the dendrobates that I keep, they don't tend to climb. So I've got mine in like 45s or 60 centimeter tanks.
Okay.
And they do quite well in there.
Okay, that's cool. And do you have like flowing water? Do they require flowing water or more swampy? Because I know.
So depending on the
species, it's all species dependent.
A lot of them use bromeliads.
Okay, yeah.
And they will lay the frog spawn on the on there for the tadpoles then to slide down into the water of the bromeliad, and then that's how they live in the wild.
That's really interesting.
But mine, I keep coconut shells.
Yeah.
With a petri dish underneath.
Okay. Yeah.
And they lay the eggs in there, and then it's about 2 weeks if I haven't taken them out and in-feed myself and looked after them.
Yeah.
And then about 2 weeks, and you'll see the male hopping about with the tadpoles attached to his back, and he drops off a little pool that I've got in there for them.
So that's interesting. So the male does a lot of the caring, is that right?
The male does most of the care. He's the one, once the eggs have been deposited, he will go back and deposit water on them if it's like drying out. And then when they're ready, he deposits more water for them to wiggle up onto his back. And then he drops them off to a large pool of water for them.
Oh, okay. So is there visual differences between the males and females? Is the male slightly smaller, or?
So what I found is the females were a lot plumper.
Yeah.
But
okay.
with dart frogs, they say you go by the toe pads. Apparently, the males look like a very small love heart.
Okay.
And then it's you listen to them as well. They have like individual calls, and it's only the males that call with them.
Right, okay, so there you go. I didn't know that. That's quite interesting, actually. Now, I've been doing, obviously, some research on different types of frogs, and some of them can get into crazy sorts of money, can't they?
Yes, it's ridiculous.
What is it that really drives the price up? Would you say it's like the colour morphs, or the rarity of them, like hard to breed, or?
The rarity, I'd say, because I believe there's a company in South America now that's doing a lot of breeding.
Okay.
And they sell to like the wholesalers and they pass them on. But they're bringing in a lot of species that haven't been in the trade yet. Okay. And the big keepers are fighting over them, which drives the price up.
Of course.
So as the smaller keepers, we then struggle and we have to wait for the trickle-down effect of them.
Yeah, that's it. But eventually they will trickle down and hopefully prices will come down as such as well. So invert keeping has only really got big in the last 20, maybe 30 years, It's gonna, I mean, they're not even inverts, so I don't know why I said invert keeping, but just keeping sort of exotic animals has got bigger in the last few years. So I think it will, like ants, eventually it will get cheaper and more accessible for the masses, hopefully. So we talked a bit about pet shops, and you said about that one was a wholesaler and whatnot. What are the laws around dart frogs and non-inverts? Because obviously we've had to look into it ourselves for selling them on the website. But what is your sort of understanding of the laws and how it's going?
With dart frogs, the only laws that I see is if they come under the CITES, but they are completely harmless in captivity. They have no toxins, so they're not on any lists whatsoever.
Yeah, okay.
Because they don't have access to what they do in the wild to be able to create the poisons that they come out of the skin.
So what is it they do in the wild that creates the poison?
So their diet is ants, termites, and other small insects.
Okay.
But I believe it's the acids from the termites and the ants what actually helps them produce the toxins in the skin.
That's very cool, and it is actually something I've seen before. Do you know if it's actually true what you see in the movies where they get the frogs and they rub their arrowheads for it as poison?
So it is true, yes.
That's cool.
Aborigines in the rainforests do use them. They catch them. They rub the spears on them or the arrow tips, and it's helped to bring down their prey.
That's
Well,
very good. Yeah,
food.
that's cool. Are all frogs? Do all frogs have that ability to become venomous, or is it just certain ones? Like if you picked up, I don't know, a frog from a different area that I don't know.
So there's certain with snakes and that.
Yeah.
There's all different species. It's same with frogs. There's certain ones that fall under a category of
Venomous. Yeah.
well, poisonous.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's some that are really highly toxic.
Yeah.
And when they've matched it, it's worse than some of the snake venoms that are out there.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
I think is crazy. That's coming from something that's the size of your thumb.
Yeah, it is crazy. So now, with that in mind, would you say that some of these do need laws and regulation? If someone could pick up something that's deadly.
So personally, with them being harmless in captivity,
Yeah.
I don't think so. There's species that have no licensing in the reptile hobby that should be licensed.
Yeah.
Like some of the biggest snakes.
Yeah.
But the scientific research that has been done on the frogs has proven that there's no risks whatsoever.
So that's cool. And, like you say, it's really interesting the way it's sort of in captivity they're harmless, but it's in the wild. See, uneducated person such as myself would assume that they are toxic. So it's interesting to actually find out the facts behind it before making those judgments. It is obviously with the ongoing environment and protests and things like that, it is always something that I'm highly aware of, is the developing situation around the laws and imports of animals and things like that, keeping of exotic animals. It is obviously something we're always worried about, that they're going to eventually outlaw a lot of things. But hopefully, things like that, they will actually look into first before just jumping the gun and saying these are highly toxic. Because I know that, in America, they've suffered a lot with that, haven't they?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They just see a species and they're like, oh, hang on a minute, let's ban that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's been no research done on it. I can understand in Florida that do have a massive invasive species problem.
Yeah, in Florida, it's really bad.
Well, it's just ridiculous to see someone ban it, cull it, and then find anyone who has it.
Yeah, that's it. So hopefully, like I say, with everything going on, they won't put any laws in against most things. I can see definitely more regulations coming in the future, but we will wait and see. Regulations that I'm obviously underselling them on the website is that we can't actually make money from them. We just sell them for you. Because you're a hobbyist seller, you're allowed to do that. But there is actually strict regulations around the selling of them from a pet shop point of view, which I think is actually really good, because obviously at a pet shop level, you're getting in a lot of animals and a lot, it's trade in hand. Whereas it's just hobbyist keepers, there's not so many animals involved, and it's more sort of not regulated, but it's more on a small scale. And that's what it's more responsible, you're talking to other keepers, and it's more personal.
There's a community as well behind it.
Yeah, I think that makes a massive difference. So it's going to be interesting over the next probably 10 years, I reckon. And I think a lot of things will change over the hobbies. But we'll wait and see.
Next 5 years.
Yeah.
Some big changes.
Yeah, it won't surprise me. It won't surprise me at all. I know, obviously, the environmental health have been highly active across the country over the last probably year, 2 years, doing all sorts of different work and investigations. So they're definitely working on something big and scary. Hopefully not. Oh, my page just came out my notebook. That was a brand new notebook not long ago.
That was the same one.
Not in this house, it don't. And I've lost my place in my questions as well, but it doesn't matter. We will wing it. So you said about some of the species being really small, some of them being super deadly. What is your sort of what draws you to a species? Do you prefer the larger species? Do you prefer the little one? Or is it sort of, what's your attraction to someone?
So at the moment, with the ones that I'm keeping, they are the more easy species to keep, them all the beginner species. I have been looking at some of the thumbnails, which are one of the smallest species. So now that I've got mine breeding, I think I've got what it takes to be able to take them on as my next step.
Yeah, okay.
But I've been in talks with a breeder who's happy to come check over the tank and everything before I actually jump in and have that responsibility of something that I might end up struggling to take care for.
See, that's really cool. I like that, and there should be a lot more of that, especially if you're buying like snakes or something like that. You know, someone that's going to come by, give you the animal, but make sure that you know what you're doing before they leave. You know, I mean, we had that with Ants Davy and the leaf cutters. He pretty much won't release the ants until he knows that your enclosure is right. Which, yeah, that's perfect. Like, it is, you know, it's a bit annoying if you can't get your enclosure right and you're struggling for weeks. I can see that be annoying, but you should really, you know, have it right and then go buy them. It's just a bit responsible, isn't it? Like we keep saying about being responsible.
They are a living thing at the end of the day, and we are responsible to look after them. So we should have everything perfect for them because we are putting them in an artificial environment at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's it. And it must be, I mean, I said this about the snake yesterday. It quite likely might have been the first time he felt the fresh air breeze on his face.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in that's my youngest at the door, which I ignore that. In a sort of snake breeding environment, they just haven't got the sort of time to spend that, you know, spend it with one snake going outside and etc. They might, but not all breeders are going to be able to do that. You know,
some of the breeders have hundreds, if not thousands, of snakes, and it's literally they get checked on, they get fed, they're looked after. Yeah. But they don't have that human interaction.
That's it. It's that extra level of love and care, isn't it? Yeah. And yeah, just like you could see the snake reacting yesterday. Boris was reacting yesterday when we had him outside in the sun. And yeah, I mean, he is a very, very active snake, don't get me wrong. So Boris, I haven't introduced Boris yet actually on the stream. We got a new snake, everyone. In fact, we haven't done a stream since before the IHS, so I need to apologise for that. Sorry. It's been absolutely hectic, and we were planning on doing one that night, but it was late and we would have been running like super late anyways. It just wasn't going to happen. So yeah, we got new pets. We have released a video. Hopefully you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, doesn't matter. We got a tailless whip scorpion, a new tarantula, a hermit crab, and a new snake called Boris. The new snake is a python. He's pretty cool. He's not like massive and scary. He's actually really cool and really cute. And he's looking at us through the glass right now. He's always very active in the evenings. And yeah, like I said the other day, if you haven't got a snake, if you haven't tried with a snake, go out to one of these reptile experiences and like try and handle one. Speak to someone that does have a snake and does look after snakes, because they are amazing animals. And yes, there is that sort of initial fear that most humans have that, oh my god, it's a snake. But once you get over that, it is really cool. And I admit, I'm still trying to get over it myself. I'm holding my snake and I'll be sat there and I'm like, he'll move really fast and they'll be like, oh my god, I need to put him down. But that's completely natural, you know. It all comes with time and confidence, you know. As Paul can tell you, actually, because Paul, you've got a lot of experience with snakes, haven't you? I've been using Paul to help me, actually, and it's been rather helpful, like I say, get someone that knows. But what kind of snakes have you dealt with in the past, Paul?
Royal pythons, corn snakes, rat snakes, carpet pythons, boas, Burmese, anacondas, literally pretty much anything. I've even had a bit of experience working with some dangerous wild animal stuff, which were some eyelash vipers, which they were pretty cool, but let's not mess around with them.
No, anything that has viper in the name is like, nah. I don't think I've ever actually seen a viper. Now, what's the difference between obviously vipers like the genus, is that right? Like, so you get anacondas of different species and vipers of different species. So What makes that genus different to, say, an anaconda or a python?
So they are fangs, so they're venomous.
Big old fangs, yeah.
With the anacondas and the Burmese, they're all constrictors.
Yeah, okay.
They're a lot smaller. They are bright yellows.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the yellow anacondas the other day. Actually, they were very cool, very cool.
Grumpy snakes.
Yeah, very scary, intimidating snakes. Like they're the sort of ones that you definitely need a few people to be able to handle, and probably shouldn't even be handling.
That's it. If the snake's that aggressive, to me, do the necessities what need to be done with it, but there's no point striking out its cage to stress it out because it's doing more harm than good to the snake.
That's it. I wouldn't be handling no snake that big because, like you say, there's no real benefit for the snake at that size. I don't think it really wants human interaction.
No.
Whereas with Boris, you can sort of tell he's enjoying being held. He is, he gets relaxed and he starts slithering about on your arm, and he enjoys it. Whereas a big snake, I don't think they enjoy it. Not so much. Not when they're absolutely huge. When a snake's bigger than you and you can't hold it properly, and it's like it's just gonna swallow you whole. Nah.
Especially some of the large-bodied snakes. Like, it's not natural for them to be being picked up.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, pythons now, they've been in the hobby and bred so much in the hobby. I think a lot of them have they've got captive traits, they've calmed down a lot from what they would be in the wild. And they are quite a really good beginner species, actually, as well as the hognose. Steve, he's a really good snake. I mean, but it is turning out that pythons are almost easier than hognose. See, the difference that I found, and you might agree with this, is hognoses are more unpredictable because the way. Good evening, Ants of Sweden. And good evening, Mantis Gun. Thanks for coming in. And Sharon and everyone else that I haven't said hello yet. What was I just saying about? You can't remember either, can you?
No, right.
About
the hognoses.
That's it. So with hognoses, you're holding them, and then it looks like they're all sound, and then they put their head on you, and then they bite you, right? With pythons, they can't. They need to strike to bite you. So it's sort of, you see it coming a bit more, if you know what I mean.
I think with pythons as well, they give you a bit more of a warning.
Yeah, okay.
They're just so chill.
Yeah.
With hognoses, I think it's probably the size of them as well doesn't help on their side.
Yeah.
Especially when two big hands are going into a tank, grabbing hold of them, and they have a little freak out and then have a nibble.
Yeah.
Which
I mean that was the main thing I struggled with. Ants of Sweden, this is Polyrhacus dives, buddy. That was the main thing I struggled with when I was dealing with the hognose, was trying to come from above in that enclosure. Just kind of freaked him out a bit. Whereas Boris literally just slithers out of his enclosure because it's front opening. He's at the glass again.
He literally just slide up.
Yeah.
Straight out like hello.
Yeah, he is. Now you obviously got a snake as well. You picked your snake up at the same time, but your snake's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a bit moody. I will say she is. As soon as I open it up, she's hissing. I get her out. She has a little hiss. She hasn't struck or anything, but time will tell.
So obviously she's a python as well, but like humans, everyone has their own personality, and she seems to be a bit stressy.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that will change? Do you reckon she'll calm down over time and get more used to you? Or is it just something she's always going to hiss, but you don't think she'll strike?
I think she'll eventually calm down because she's come from a breeder which probably hasn't had much human interaction other than being fed, cleaned out, and having water changed.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of weeks and she'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm just going to say shortly, I'll do a full tour of the tanks. If you want to hang about Ants of Sweden, I'll do a full tour and you can see how big the colony actually is. This isn't even like a small amount of them yet. This is, what did you say? This is like less than a quarter of the, it's not even a quarter, it's probably about a sixth, maybe a tenth of the amount of ants in there. Yeah, the bridge is probably busier than this. Good evening, Jason. Thank you for popping in, buddy. Has anyone got any questions whilst we have stopped briefly? If you do have any questions, please do chuck them in and we'll answer them, basically. Mantis Garden's here because no one's talking to him in Discord, because everyone on Discord's here, buddy. Or most people are, otherwise they're probably asleep or eating. I don't know. That's what I tend to find. It's not even 500 of the thousand. Yeah, that's it, Dino. This is nowhere like trying. Like, I don't know how many ants do we think are on it at the moment. Should we do a quick tour whilst we got it? Like, I'm gonna do a tour. Hold on. There we go. Just a few ants. What was it? So yeah, so Mantis Garden, they are currently eating 2 baby chicks. Why not? They eat pretty much everything else. I say they can go through the whole pork chop in like a day or 2 now. So we had to like up our game, I suppose. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see what big things we can feed them. I suppose get like a baby rabbit, or I don't know. If you want to see something get fed to it, let me know. I might well do it.
Take suggestions.
Yeah, that's it. I'll take suggestions. Yeah. But yeah, there's just a few of them. I have no idea how many now. We started out with just the 2 queens. They've been having like a year-long nuptial flight. Like literally, we've got queens all around the room all the time, and they do get absorbed back into the colony as well. So there's literally like I have no idea how many queens, no idea how many workers, and I don't even want to try and get into the nest to find out because it's scary. Even putting my hands in them was close enough. They're literally everywhere. And probably do another expansion before long.
Definitely need an expansion.
Yeah. See, I don't. I like to give them enough space, but you got to kind of restrict it a little bit because every time I give them more space, they grow more. Now, I do think, now, it has been noted in research notes in the past, and it's not been fully confirmed yet, but it is something I agree with, that they will sort of restrict their growth if you keep the space restricted. Now, they won't restrict it properly, but if you give them a lot more space, they will grow a lot faster. That's not to say to give them loads of space at the start, because that's obviously the wrong thing to do. But if you put them in like a lot of outworld space, like if you have a 60 worker colony and you give them a nice size outworld, they'll grow a lot faster than, say, one in a smaller outworld because they've got more size and more space. And I suppose the abundance of extra resources. I don't know what it is, but it has been noted. Why can't you just feed them an apple? We could, but an apple's like, they get so much sugar from their sugary drinks. To be honest, they probably wouldn't be that interested in the apple. They might, but yeah, they like their ant candy stuff, ant syrup candy stuff. That's sort of their go-to. It's so much easier as well. But after a couple of days, I'd be having a fish out of moldy apple core. I can't be asked for that. Like this, like, although we say that about the apple, this will literally just disappear, bones and everything. The isopods will eat the bones and everything will go. Everything will go. I'm expecting we might even see a beak work its way into the nest. We will have to wait and see.
Definitely think the feathers are going to get worked into the nest.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I like that. If I didn't feed them to the extent I did, they'd escape and eat me in my sleep. Quite possibly. We like estimates say around 40,000 ants could lift up someone my size. So yeah, they could pick me up, carry me off, and back to the nest. I'd take a little while to get through, and I probably wouldn't be that tasty. I take way too many tablets and fluid chemicals. Whereas Paul here, if he turns his back, you never know.
Surprise attack.
You never know. I mean, the wife, she'd probably only be like 20,000 ants. I don't know. There'll be a lot less ants. Vegetarian ants. I don't think there is actually vegetarian ants, believe it or not. Unless you're talking leaf cutters. They're sort of vegetarian ants, but not quite because it's still fungus. Fungus isn't vegetarian. Do vegetarians eat fungus, mushrooms and stuff? Yes, they do, don't they? It's vegans which might not. No, vegans do.
Yeah, vegans.
Who doesn't eat mushrooms? I'm sure someone doesn't.
People are allergic.
People that don't like mushrooms. Now here's the thing: mushrooms in spaghetti bolognese, yes or no?
I'm not a big fan of spaghetti.
You're not a fan of spaghetti. We'll put it to the comments. Mushrooms in spaghetti bolognese, yes or no? We need to know that one. It's highly important. Yeah, there isn't vegetarian ants apart from leaf cutters. I think there's actually a vegetarian spider though, isn't there? Tarantulas. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, people that don't like mushrooms. I would feed vegans to the ants and save the chicks. You can't do that, man. This garden, like vegans, like they probably won't taste that good either because they're all skin and bones. No, we shouldn't be mean. Like some vegans have a really good healthy diet, I will say, but it's the ones that are sort of lacking in the other things. You know, some vegan meals that I've had are absolutely lovely, but I wouldn't be able to live like it every day. I do enjoy my meat as well. So let's go back to the animals before we get into random topics about spaghetti bolognese and stuff.
It's not that bad, yeah.
Exactly. So you've had loads of experience with snakes and different animals and crested geckos. Now, something that happened the other day, you bought a crested gecko. Well, you bought a gecko. I don't know what type of gecko it is because I'm not a gecko person. You bought a gecko and it was massive, wasn't it?
The giant leopard gecko.
The giant leopard gecko, that's the one. And it bit you.
So it didn't bite me.
Yeah.
It was sat there with its mouth open, ready to bite. He seems okay.
Okay.
But I still don't trust him yet.
So Is it common that they will bite, or are they generally quite a chilled species? Like,
Generally, they're chilled species. They're really good for like starter pets, but I don't know if it's just due to his size or what. But
just grumpy.
yeah,
Just grumpy. So, upon all your different experience with lots of different animals, what would you say is the worst bite you've ever had? Have you been bitten by any snakes, any bad spiders, or even not in a work case scenario? Have you just been
a
bit by a nasty
hamster.
hamster?
I'd rather be bit by pretty much more snakes than a hamster.
Okay, okay. Hamsters do have those big old teeth at the front, don't they?
And they lock on.
Okay, yeah, they do, yeah.
Pretty much if a snake's going to bite, it bites to go unless
Yeah.
it's a feed and response.
Yeah, okay.
Then it's a bit of a problem.
And then it wraps itself around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have got a problem.
Mouthwash is always good.
Mantis Garden is saying assassin bugs. Now, I've never been bit by one yet. Have you?
No.
No. We've been quite lucky about that. Mantis Garden, have you been? You've been bitten by those many times. Okay. Well, we'll have to get you on very soon, Mantis Garden. We have spoken about that actually, haven't we? We'll have to get you on very soon to tell us all about the assassin bug bites, because that is, it's one that's meant to really hurt. Yeah, they're meant to be really good at biting. Like, they've got sort of a weird bite, haven't they? I don't know. What's the word? Proboscis. That's quite likely it. That sounds about right. I remember seeing it written down and saying, I can't read that, let alone pronounce it. That is the main problem I find when we're going through like research notes and Latin words and stuff. It's just I read them, I'm like, I can't read it, I can't pronounce it, go straight past it. Yeah.
You just skip them.
Yeah, basically. I'm just making sure that we haven't missed anything. Hamsters will do it like nasty buggers. So I read half of that, and hamsters would do it like nasty buggers. Some bite. Yeah. Don't put a comma there. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, good evening, Marcus. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Sorry, we are still here. I'm reading all the chat and making sure I'm not missing anything. No, I think we're all good. We're all good. So, Paul, you are coming to the show at Bristol, and you're going to have a variety of different things for sale. We're not really going to talk about that. We're going to leave it as a nice little surprise for the Bristol show. So you're going to have to come over to the Bristol show if you're listening right now. You're going to have to come over to the Bristol event on the 5th of August and check out Cookie Reptiles' stall. It is somewhere towards the middle of the hall. I can see it on the map, but I won't be able to describe it to you unless you go straight, left, and right, or something like that, which means nothing to you right now. So find it in the middle of the hall. But you have decided to do something rather generous, haven't you, Paul, with a raffle. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
So I've decided I had a terrarium going spare, and I thought, since Tom is such a good cause and a good friend, I've donated it. I've done it up fully bioactive with a few plants in there, and that is going to be raffled off to everyone that buys a ticket to go, and you have to be there to win it.
So that's it. So that is a separate raffle to the raffle that Dean's plugging for me right now. Thank you for that. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So every person who enters through the door and buys a ticket, if you bought it online, if you buy it on the door, if you've paid for a ticket, you'll get a raffle ticket to this other raffle for Cookie Reptiles bioactive terrarium thingy-majigger raffle thing. Awesome. So you have to be there to obviously win it. We are not going to be posting it because it is big and heavy. You have to be prepared to take it home. So hopefully, like, it doesn't go home with someone on the train.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's not our issue. You have fun with your man. To be fair, if you come to these sorts of events, you are expecting to buy stuff. So hopefully, hopefully they've got that sort of thing under control. But it's very generous, and we are very appreciative of it. Whilst we're talking about raffles and whilst it's being plugged anyways, obviously do check out our raffle as well. It's £2.50 a ticket or £10 for five. And there's loads of awesome prizes on there. All the details are on the website. Dean's put the link in the chat already. Thank you very much, Dean. So check it out at some point after the stream, because stay here and listen to us. So in the near future, Paul, is there anything that you're going to be looking to add to your sort of stock? Anything that you want to breed? What's your sort of goals?
So I do want to get a few more different species of dart frogs, especially like the thumbnails. Like once eventually I can get into them, there's a few amazing little species with beautiful colours on, which when you just see them, people just fall in love with them because the colours are just amazing.
Yeah, I've seen some really cool different ones. Now, obviously, the ones that we've got in at the minute are the blue ones, but I've seen like red ones and golden ones and ones with stripes. Some really cool ones. Now, when we were at the IHS the other day, there was a tank with some which weren't they weren't dart frogs. They were some other kind of frogs. What type of frogs were they?
They were tree frogs.
They were tree frogs.
So there was black-eyed tree frogs and white tree frogs.
Now, they are very cool. And if you were born when I was, you'd know exactly what I mean by saying it was the Budweiser frogs. They were very cool. And they kind of they stick to the glass and yeah. So maybe in the future we'll have to look into getting some of them in. So I thought about getting something like that in here. I'd like to have something like, because they stuck to the glass really high up. You could have stuff on the ground, which is different. There's a lot you could do with them. But yeah, so different kinds of frogs, very interesting. It's something that I never really looked into before. Mainly knowing that frogs eat ants is sort of like counterproductive to bring in frogs, but yeah, they are pretty cool. Who was it? We did an interview a while back, I can't remember, but he had a horned toad. Have you heard of horned toad things? I don't know, but it eats ants, and it was that was very cool, very very cool.
I believe they're Australian.
That could possibly be it. Yeah.
You have to have a constant diet and supply of ants. So.
Yeah. See, someone said I should get stuff like that for population control, and it's a bit like I don't know. To be fair, if you put anything in with the dives, even as population control, I'm pretty sure they'd eat it. Yeah, they'd eat it eventually. They'd find a way. Yeah. So whites are cute. Have you seen whites? White darts?
White tree frogs.
White tree frogs, I think. I'm guessing.
They are cute.
Okay.
They are becoming more popular due to like TikTokers and stuff with them.
Okay.
Because they are quite a little dumpy frog.
Okay, yeah.
They are another great beginner species to get into. They are quite handleable.
Yeah.
With the dart frogs, they are a species that you look and don't touch.
Okay, yeah.
Because they are so sensitive.
Yeah.
Well, with the white tree frogs, yeah, they are nice, chunky frogs.
Have you found with obviously social media and TikTok, YouTube, that there's been an increase in the hobby, like people taking up the hobby?
Yes, there's been a massive, I think mainly with the inverts.
Yeah.
There's been a massive social media presence, especially with like towards jumping spiders.
Mm-hmm.
The ants are becoming really popular.
Yeah.
And then I see like the tarantula shows are pushing a lot more and they're becoming bigger. But inverts are an easy pet.
Yeah.
Don't take much room. They're not very expensive. They don't eat a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, most of the time, not these. Obviously, that is the thing about inverts. Not necessarily all ants, because some ants can grow to crazy sizes and be a lot of stress. But generally speaking, inverts are fairly easy as pets. They don't take up a lot of space. I mean, millipedes, millipedes are the easiest thing in the world. Like, if anyone's looking to get into inverts, I always say get a millipede.
Millipedes and stick insects.
Yeah, millipedes, stick insects. You can't go wrong, can
You
you?
didn't have stick insects in school.
Oh, that's it. I mean, we donated a lot of stick insects to schools for exactly that reason. You know, we have donated ant colonies, but we find that stick insects are just so much more like on the kids' level, especially at that younger age. They love going out to get the bush, whatever they feed it, bramble and stuff. I don't know if they actually get bramble because of the thorns. They probably have a privet bush or something. Yeah. We always used to feed ours on privet, but we had a privet bush that we were growing at the time, but they'd eat it so fast we'd have to take it out and replace it with others. It was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. And then eventually we did take it out altogether and just let it grow, and it grew into this massive bush, and it was really cool. I like privet bush. Yeah, why not? Can't go wrong with stick insects. See, I might end up with stick insects again soon. I've been speaking to someone recently who's got some and doesn't know what to do with all the eggs. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. See, I've looked at that, and obviously there is some really cool species of stick insect, but it's just kind of I've gone away from them. You know what I mean? I've moved on to other things, snakes and tarantulas and stuff.
It's more fascinating things.
Yeah. I mean, they are really cool, and I do find them interesting, but I just couldn't spend the same amount of time watching them as I could with other things. You know, I mean, we spend ages looking at Boris. He's up again. Snakes are really cool. Yeah,
He is so active.
He
just
is.
Wants to come out and say hello all the time.
Yeah, he is very active, which is nice. It's nice to have sticks on a rock. Why are we talking about sticks? I'm completely okay. Yeah, sorry, lost me there. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not. Yeah, let's not do that. We got a bit of everything here now, really, haven't we? But please do make sure you're sending in any questions you want us to answer as we are heading towards the end of the interview. We'll continue to chat random stuff, but I'm running out of questions is my main point. You find snakes about as interesting as watching porridge set. Does it set? That takes a long time. It's got proper cool and...
He's got all that time feeding.
Yeah. It's because you got all the mantises. Oh, okay. It seems like we're having a call-in for a duck race.
Can't be a duck race.
I think, should we do a duck race, Paul?
Yeah.
You're going to help me host a duck race.
Let's do a duck race.
Oh, my God. This is the first time we've had someone in the studio with us. So it's definitely different format. Right, we got the duck races. How many people are in the chat? So if you haven't done duck races with us before, it's super easy. Just choose a number. We're going to go all the way up to number 10 right now because there's 7 people in the chat, and Paul might want to join in too. And if there's a couple more people that join, it just makes sense. So we got 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. Pick your number, pick your duck. It's all for fun. We're not going to do prizes at this point in time. If you want to do prizes, join in next Sunday and we will have a couple of prizes up for grabs. So we're shouting that out now. Just making sure that it's all there. There we go. So let's have a little look at our ducks. See who we've got racing for us tonight. We have Purple Stripy Duck. Now, the thing about Purple Stripy Duck is he likes to team up with the Green Duck just here, and also Pink Stripy Duck. You got to watch out for these coloured ducks. They plan stuff. You got Copper Duck in the middle. He's going to be keeping an eye on them, but, you know, he's wearing an old school hat. How fast can he really run in those shoes? We got Reindeer Duck here. He has got a red nose, so he's going to be lighting the way if it gets foggy. He's going to be out the front of the pack, but if he falls behind, don't worry. We'll light up his reindeer antlers as well, and we'll light up the whole stream. We got a couple of plain ducks. You've got to keep your eye on those plain ducks. They'll be setting traps further upstream. I'm sure they've got the rest of the gang up there somewhere because there's only 2 of them here, and there's loads of those plain ducks. Keep your eye on them. Little alien duck. I'm pretty sure that's a costume and not a real alien. Time will tell. And obviously, Soldier Duck here, he's off duty at the minute, but he hasn't returned his uniform. He's going to be going super fast because they've been asking for it back. Let's get this race underway. Good luck, everybody. Mantis Godden's doing maths. Good evening, Antisocial. Nice to see you here, buddy. As always. So let's see what numbers have been picked. 3s, 7s, 5s. Oh no, if you haven't picked your number, there's still time. Pick your number. It's just for fun. And we're coming up to the last little bit. Obviously, as an athlete, we know you got to hold back for that last little bit. And then you put it all in, last 10 seconds. Here we go. I'm not going to announce it straight away because of the lag. And it was reindeer duck. So if you were number 4, well done. If you weren't number 4, it doesn't matter because there weren't prizes involved anyways. Let's get rid of that. Otherwise, the quacking will do my head in. Quack. See, is it a duck if it's a reindeer? I know it's a reindeer duck, but should it be called rain duck or no? No, let's not. Duck deer. That's duck. No, I can't say that. It's just gonna get confusing. Do make sure you're sending in any more questions because we have pretty much finished the questions now. We're just going to chat a bit of randomness before we call it a night. It's been good fun, but we have found out quite a few interesting things. I'm sure we'll get pulled back on again soon as well because there's lots more that I was going to write down on the questions, but like me, I ran out of time like normal. But I'm sure you all have lots of questions as well. You can go and look at some cool frogs and then come back and ask again in the future. How many ants do you reckon? That's like the hole in the middle there, isn't it? Yeah. Like, so they found the entry point. See, the main thing we wanted to do, like when we did the fluffies the other day, I noticed that they really sort of struggled with the fluff. So we cut a hole into these chicks so that they could find an easy access. And Paul suggested putting them on the paper so that we could see how many ants are actually there. And like, I was expecting a lot more, if I'm completely honest, but we have fed them a fair bit recently. Like they've had a lot of mice.
They're constantly feeding.
Yeah, they are constantly eating at the moment, which isn't a bad thing. Like they need constant food, otherwise, like Katrina said earlier, they'll get me in my sleep. You've been watching that hole since they started there. See, I expect they're gonna tear that into like a really. It's gonna get messy overnight. You know what I mean? It's gonna get messy. It's going to be interesting. It's a bit of a shame that I can't. I mean, I could leave this streaming the whole night, but it would be kind of crazy. I don't know. If I stop the stream, it would stop it filming, and that is a shame because we have got it from the start so far. Paul Tom, what animal? I'm going to bring that on stream. Bring it up. What animal would you never want to keep despite a liking for it? Answer not restricted by license. Oh, now that's an interesting one. Do you want to answer first or should I go first?
You go first.
Well, I'll go first. So, me being me, I get offered all sorts of random animals. Now, I'm talking giraffes, mini cows, all sorts of random stuff that I get sent. Like, do you want this? I'm like, no. If I had a zoo, I might. And lots of things have come into my mind, and the kids have tried to convince me about things. And I can honestly say I'm not actually tempted by most of the bigger things yet. I'd quite like a rhino just for having a rhino. I would keep it well protected, look after my rhino. He's a horny beast. Um, but apart from that, I'm not actually that bothered about the bigger animals, like the more exotic. Like I'd want a lion. I don't want a lion. I don't know what I'd do with a lion. I'm quite happy with ants. You know what I mean? Like they're sort of like they're my go-to thing. So although like you say, if you could have absolutely anything, I think I'd probably just get more ants.
Yeah.
more of the stuff that I've got because I don't know. But then I always said that I'd never be that bothered about snakes. Now I've got one, I've got two. I always said that about I said that about tarantulas. I got one tarantula. Now many? I've had 5 tarantulas, 4 or 5 tarantulas now. So it's like I don't know. If someone wants to give me something like if someone gives me a rhino, I'll probably buy another 2. Like no, not. Let's not go rhinos. Don't go. You know what I mean? They're protected as well. But we're talking without license. Theoretical here. Hypothetical, theoretical is not going to happen. Don't go poaching. We can't. We can't condone that on this stream. But if someone was to give me a random animal, I would probably get my time invested in it and end up buying more, and it would become the next thing that I've started doing, and my garden would get taken over. It'd be a sheep pen, wouldn't it? I'd end up with sheep.
You need a farm.
I would. I'd end up with. So someone offered me a mini cow, and we could get a mini cow. I don't know if we could get away with it with the neighbours, but we could get a mini cow. But yeah, I could see myself getting sheep. Could see myself getting pigs. I don't think I'd be that bothered by it, but it'd be great for the kids, wouldn't it? But maybe one day in the future we'll get a zoo. Anyways, Paul, what about you, buddy?
Meerkats.
Meerkats, okay, yeah.
I've seen them, and I don't think they make good pets. I'd love to own them, but I don't think it's fair on them.
Yeah, fair.
They need social structure, which you can't provide in the home, and they're known for getting depressed.
Yes, yeah, there is actually that. I have seen that, and like you can visibly see it. Like, it's really tragic actually. Mantis Garden saying he would have a dodo. See, I like dodos, but after watching Ice Age, questionable. You know,
I want to know what it tastes like though.
Yeah, see, it probably didn't even taste that nice, but there was just like an abundance of it, and they were really easy to catch. But to be fair, right, they always say that the downfall of the dodo is down to humans landing on the island and eating them, etc., etc. It's actually been proven that the population of dodos was decreasing for like up to 50 or 100 years before we started eating them on a large scale. It was like introduction of other things. It was rats which was actually the main issue, wasn't it? It wasn't necessarily us eating them, and rats were introduced way before we started landing on the islands properly. So
rats are a big problem everywhere.
Rats are a massive issue, especially back in those days, because rats can swim, and swimming between the little islands wasn't a massive thing. Like, I don't think there was any rats on Easter Island, believe it or not, and that's like 1,000 miles from the closest landmass. So that's quite an interesting one. Do you know much about Easter Island?
Not much.
Really interesting place. If you don't know much about it, definitely look it up. So you know the big heads?
Yeah.
They got bodies and stuff.
I know, I've seen that. They've got whole bodies.
Yeah.
And I know they're trying to get the one back from the London Museum.
Yeah, that won't surprise me. I'd say it's really interesting stuff. They pretty much deforested their entire island because they were so isolated. They couldn't bring in extra resources. Deforested their whole island, and there's 2 theories. They either just died out because like they just had no resources left to farm themselves and such, or they went to war and had fights over their last resources and killed themselves off because of that. But one way or another, the population of Easter Island was pretty much dying out or died out by the time we discovered it in the modern era. It's really interesting stuff. I've always found it interesting, anyways. One thing I am going to cover whilst we are talking randomness. Good evening, Dorset Gorilla Grower. One thing we are going to cover whilst we are just chatting is it is so hot at the minute. Make sure that you are obviously keeping all your pets well watered, looking after them, and making sure they're hydrated because they will dry out faster. Not just that, if you're spraying your enclosure, they'll dry out faster as well. Sometimes your pets might not even have the chance to drink it. So make sure there is water available as well as spraying your enclosures. Good evening, Jason. I did suspect it was you, buddy. But it's nice to speak to you again. It's been a long, long time, buddy. Just checking. I accidentally killed one the other day, a female guy. What did you kill? Sorry, I missed that. Hang on. Dino wants an alligator, but he'd settle for a crocodile. What's the main difference between alligators and crocodiles?
I believe it's the jaws.
Yes,
Something
yeah.
to do with the teeth.
Yeah, because it's not just in the whole family. There's alligators, crocodiles, and caimans. That's it. There's actually multiple other ones, and it is to do with the jaws and how it's all
the teeth alignment and stuff. I believe it is.
Yeah, something like that. The ridges on the top of the nose or something like that. I don't really know. I'm not really 100% on crocodiles and alligators myself.
So
I know that it's much like with your crested geckos. Actually, we've talked about this in the past. You can change the sexes depending on temperature. Is that something?
Leopard geckos. A lot of reptiles are temperature dependent to sex their eggs. So, as we're talking about alligators, they do it with their nest naturally. They will separate like half the eggs on the bottom to be cooked because they'll hatch out as female, and the ones close to the surface will be male because they're warmer. But yeah, I artificially do it at home, and I can pretty much determine what I'm guaranteed sex-wise of the geckos.
See, I can do that with ants, believe it or not. I can almost guarantee that 90% of them will be female. Magic. No, not quite magic. It's just the way it is with ants. I mean, we do get quite a lot of males as well, especially in the larger colonies. You go get males. Males are somewhat annoying though, because if you're not hoping for a nuptial flight, they're just eating resources and not giving anything back to the colony. So it is what it is. But so what else have we got going on in a minute? We have lots of new stock making its way onto the shop over the next week. We have just added plenty of new things. You can have a look at it all now. Some of it's on for pre-order. Some of it will be getting uploaded in the next week and whatnot. Lots of new ants coming on, lots of restocking in the ants, lots of nests and outworlds and other stuff. And we've got new flavors on the sugars. I should probably mention as well, because I completely forgot myself, we've got a 20% off deal on all the ant candies today only. It will last until midnight, or if I fall asleep, it will last until I wake up. But it will be finishing fairly fast. So get in your orders for ant candies whilst it is 20% off. I don't know what that is in monetary terms, but 20% of a tenner is what, a couple of quid? Yeah, there you go. It's decent save. Like, so get on that. But yeah, we've got lots of new stuff coming on the website over the next week or so. A few small changes and updates to the website as well, and the app is being developed a little bit further. If you don't use the app, do check it out. It's sort of like an ant version of Facebook, I suppose. You get your profile and you can upload things, and we're making it sort of better by the day. So do keep an eye on the app. It will become more useful as time goes on. And then we we have got some really cool products that we are developing as well. We're going to be releasing a brand new product onto the market soon, but we're not going to tell you anything more than that about it. We're just going to let you guess, just for now, whilst it's under development and testing, basically. But it is going to be super exciting. We're super excited about it all coming on the website. And that will happen in due course. But I'm going to keep telling you about it just to keep reminding you, so you all know that it's happening. Because yeah. The other thing that was got going on is I was on a podcast earlier with Somerset Spiders, and it was really great fun. Actually, I think you can find it on their channel, the Invert Podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, if you weren't there watching or listened yet, do check it out. Drop them a little sub as well, because they're a fairly new sort of podcast, but it was good fun. They're going to have lots of interesting interviews. I believe Mantis Garden did one last week. I was meant to do one the week before, but I fell asleep at my desk. I literally woke up and was like, oh no, oh, no. It was like 5 minutes after it had finished, and it was like, oh no, that's the worst thing. But you know what it's like when you just can't. Yeah, that's it. And it was like I was sat here, and it was like an hour before the stream started, and I was like, right, if I start doing anything big, I'm going to run out of time. So I'm just going to sit here and wait. And I was sat here waiting. I just gone. That's it. And just constantly knackered. The waspy thing with the real long, that word, that looks like a scary thing, something. Male dicamo a nightmare, and looks like they're annoying fly things that freak me. Okay, so another little reminder as well. We are coming up to July, and July means nuptial flights here in the UK. Not necessarily July, it could happen pretty much any time now. That's why I'm reminding you. If we get a decent rain, give it the next day, quite likely we're going to have nuptial flights. It has been reported almost countrywide now that they are having practice flights. Princesses are being seen outside of the nests. So keep your eyes open for that next big rain. Get your boxes ready. Most ant species, UK ant species, you can put into one container. You do not need to test tube them all up whilst you're outside. It's just a massive waste of time, and you're going to miss the opportunity to catch lots of queens. Just get a box, like a lunch box, barrier around the top, nice and easy, and you can put your queens in there. They will not fight, especially Lasius niger. They're really placid, and they won't fight amongst each other. It's once the workers arrive that the fighting will begin, and they'll start to cull off other queens. Things like Lasius niger, obviously Myrmecoruba. I wouldn't recommend mixing species. You can get away with Lasius niger and Lasius flavus, but I wouldn't recommend putting Myrmecoruba or anything like the Formica genus in with a niger queen. That just wouldn't work, but you can stick to the same genuses. Obviously, most of your Formica species are polygamous anyways. You've got Myrmecoruba, polygamous, and quite a few of our native ants, even down to the flavus themselves, are polygamous. It's only really nigers and a few others that aren't. Had a few flying ants in your greenhouse. Yeah, see, they are doing their practice flights. The minute we get another big rain, they will have a flight. And if you don't know, when they do their flight is when they go and mate, and they drop to the ground, they tear off their wings, and we tend to go out and catch them before they dig their own little chamber. We stick them into a test tube with a little bit of water in one end, cotton wool blocker, then the ant, then another cotton wool blocker. And that's how we keep them until they have workers, or preferably until they have lots of workers. The longer you can keep them in that small chamber, the better. It is more natural for them. But that is the magic day. So everyone kind of thinks, like, when you think of flying ants, lots of people are just like, oh no, flying ant day, I don't know what flying ants are. Or people who actually think it's a whole species of ant. They think the flying ants are a whole species, and they just don't realize that that's the magic day, that like the magic happens, and you can go and catch yourself a queen ant.
Free ant.
Yeah, it's a free ant. It's a free ant. That's it. Like, you don't even need me anymore. Just go get your own. Like, but you don't do that. Come to me.
Not for everything else.
Yeah, come to me for the food. That's it. Right.
Sugar.
But I always do say, I always say, go and catch your own because it is as easy as that. If you've got the chance, go out, enjoy the nuptial flight. I mean, even if you don't catch any, just go and see what's happening. You know, it's really cool. And then, yeah, but we will obviously always have stocks of Lasius niger all year round. We have magic ways of making sure we have Lasius niger all year round. Jason, the females are bigger. Yeah, see, it is really interesting. The males of Lasius niger, they're like tiny little some fly-like mosquitoes, whereas some males can be quite large and intimidating of different species. Like the males of the diacama, they're actually red and they look completely different to the females. Yeah, it's generally I find as well. It's the antenna. Like you say, they have the straight antenna like wasps. I was actually having this conversation earlier that males have retained a lot of the traits that have sort of evolved out of the females over the last like 16 million years. Sorry. So if you go back to about 32 million years ago, you can find the start of ants that are still about today. Before that, they're all sort of extinct. But about 32 million years ago, you'll be able to find ants that are still about today. And that is about the same time as they start to lose a lot of the traits that they had whilst in wasp form. So it was about 40 million years ago that they really started living underground. Before that, they were like a lot more arboreal, like the weaver species. The weaver ants in general are actually a lot older than the like more terrestrial species because that's the way it happened. They sort of went on the trees and then they worked their way down by the seams of it. But it wasn't until about 40 million years ago that they started living properly underground and they lost so much of their sight. So if you're looking at ants that are like really ancient ants, like the diacama, for instance, they still have sight, but it's not as good as a wasp. Whereas if you come to more of a modern genus, say something like Camponotus, most of the Camponotus anyways, they've almost lost the ability to see, but they rely a lot more on other senses designed for their underground lifestyle. So it's really interesting to see how like millions of years ago, their different lifestyle changes affected them. But now because males only come out, like they're only needed for that little part of the whole life cycle. They don't do a lot. They don't forage. They don't, they just need to go out and do their business basically. Oh, we're past the watershed. They just need to go out and I still don't feel comfortable saying that on stream. They just need to go out and do their business. So males have retained a lot of the traits of the wasps because they haven't had the necessity to get rid of it basically. So it's actually, I found that really interesting in my research anyways. Bit of a ramble for you.
Do you ever think that they'll eventually evolve when males are completely obsolete and don't even get produced anymore?
See, there is some species which, yes, yeah, I'd say that's definitely going to happen. Thanks for coming in, Simon. We'll catch you again probably tomorrow. Yeah, and evolution is so current, we can literally see it happening in front of us. In fact, in America currently, there's so many different research studies going on because it's a thriving environment for ant evolution. We're seeing like colonies forming symbiosis together, they're working together. Inter-colony relationships are just improving amongst like a much wider range of species than have been recorded in the past. New traits are being recorded like regularly. So I could definitely see ant evolution heading that way. I mean, with such species as, I can't even think of any, but we have got some like super inbreeding species which have become more potent over the last probably 20 years as well, with the increase in food but less kind of space. I mean, massive thing about Tetramonium bicarbonatium I can never see. The tet bees, big thing about tet bees, they are highly invasive, but it's turned out that they're being widely reported because they like to live in houses. They're not invasive to outside. If they were outside, they would be looking to come inside or living in the crack of a house. So people often have an issue with tetramonium or tet bees living in their house. So they're invasive, but they tend not to go outside. So that is like people passing them between each other. Again, another interesting thing that I found. We are heading towards the end of the stream now, everyone. If you've got any further questions, comments, or anything you want to say, now's the time. Because if not, we are going to be ending it super, super soon. It has been really fun, and a massive thank you to all of you for joining in, sending in your comments as always. So I'm just reading through your comments. First set of eggs, the male deposited a lifetime supply of sperm into her, and we take her. Yeah, see, that's 99% right, but most ants will mate with multiple males to get their lifetime supply. That's the only thing I'm going to change on your statement. Apart from that, you are right. Yeah, I'm not changing your statement. That's the wrong thing to say, but you know what I mean. So yeah, you see quite often one ant with multiple male ants surrounding her. She's getting her lifetime supply. Grim. So I was explaining to this. Yeah, that's it. Like, but I don't know. Some species might just mate with a single male. I think I can't remember, but there is a species of honeypot, I'm sure, that only mates with a single male. Or was it? I think there's even some ants that they will mate with a single male, use up that supply of sperm, and then put out pheromones to attract another male. So that again, it's really interesting. But over like 18,000 different species of ants, roughly, you're going to find the variation in traits and how they do things. You know. Okay, Dorset Gorilla, that is, or Jason, that is one of the most interesting and annoying questions I ever get asked, right? So let's go on this, right? So you know the forest, you know when you go walking in the forest and you see those big mounds of ants, like the big mounds of wood that's been made by ants, yeah? They're pretty nasty ants, and they bite and they spray acid. And they're black. My bullet ants, they're black. So Flavus, they're red. They don't really sting. They can, but they don't really. It's a really no. It's all good. Don't be sorry, man. It's a real sort of common misconception. I think it's sort of thing from old people say it. You know what I mean? Old people would tell me like that. Red ants sting. Black ants are the friendly ones, and that's because the most common black ant that you're going to see is the Lasius niger species. Now, Lasius niger, they don't bite, they don't sting, they don't have any way to harm humans, but they are highly aggressive towards other ants. They will tear each other apart, but they are generally quite nice, and they're really, really common and abundant. So those are the ones that you think of. But like I say, when it comes to actual, there's about 56 different species of ants in the UK, and probably about 50 of them can hurt you, and probably only about half of them are red. So it's really down to, yeah, don't ever apologize. There's no such thing as a stupid question. It's really sort of, I don't think coloration comes down to it. Not like with snakes where bright colors kind of show that there. Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think it's just sort of, I'm a red ant, or I'm a yellow ant, or I'm a really pretty ant, because you do get some really pretty ants. Like there's some species of Camponotus which are like black with white stripes, and they look like little zebras and stuff, and it's really cool. So yeah, I don't think it's like a color thing like that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure research will unveil something in the future. I mean, there's many more ants still to be discovered. They think there could be half that many again. I say 18,000, so half that many again would be like 24,000, 20, 30,000. I don't know. It'd be a lot of thousands. There's a lot of different ants. Marcus, yeah, we will be live streaming the raffle at the event at Bristol. It will be on the main stage at the end of the day, but we will live stream it via this channel, Facebook, Twitch, all the usual sorts of places, and make sure it gets out there as best as we can. Obviously, all prizes, if they're not collected on the day, they'll be sent out within 2 weeks. I won't say a week because after I get home, I'm probably going to sleep for a couple of days. I usually do, but it will be done within 2 weeks of us having the show. And then you'll get all your prizes through the post. There's lots of cool prizes. Obviously, if it's one of the gift vouchers or something like that, I will just email it straight across. But if it needs to go in the post, it'll take up to 2 weeks. They will all bite if threatened. Which ones are they, Tom? The long-legged ones. I'm completely confused. Long-legged what? Sorry. Others bite what? Ants? Long-legged ants? I'm very confused. There's lots of long-legged ants. They all kind of have legs. I don't know. I'm so confused. Oh, it doesn't matter. Does it? It's been a brilliant stream. I am going to leave it there because it's been great fun. But we've got nothing else written down. And you know what happens when I start the ramble? We can enter the world of never coming back. Camper notice with the white stripes. That's it. I can never remember what they're called. Honestly, like, we'll call them zebra ants because they look like zebras, but I can't remember. Like, as much as I know about ants, I get caught out with things that I don't know daily. You know, I don't know everything. I'm more than happy to admit that. But yeah, we're going to leave it there. Make sure you do come back every Wednesday and Sunday in the foreseeable future. We will be here chatting away, randomness, doing some interviews, having a bit of fun. Back at normal time every Wednesday and Sunday. You know, 8:30 for the live feeding, 9 p.m. for the chat. Massive thank you to everyone for watching, joining in with the chat and keeping things going tonight. Obviously, a massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters and sponsors. And really just a massive thank you to all the supporters all around for supporting what we're trying to do on Ants on the Rock. Do you want to say a massive goodbye?
Just want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming along. And goodbye, everyone. Thank you again.
Brilliant. So that is it. I shall love you and leave you. You know where to find me if you need me. I'll be available on all the usual platforms. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Twitch, Patreon, Discord, and TikTok. I think that's all of them. So shout me if you need me. But as always for me, we'll see you again soon, Ant fans. Good night.